Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for today's video, what we're going to be discussing are the witch's apparitions, which appear in Act 4, Scene 1. Now, in order to understand the apparitions, we need to connect back to the prophecies, which we saw in Act 1. Now, the prophecies, which outlined clearly that Macbeth was Glamis, which he already was, Cawdor, which he didn't know, and then King Hereafter saw Macbeth take matters into his own hands with the assistance of Lady Macbeth, of course, and kill King Duncan in order to obtain king. Now, we see that King Duncan's children flee Macbeth. There's no one other than Macbeth who's there to take on the honors, and Macbeth becomes king. Macbeth takes matters into his own hands. So while he does believe in the witch's prophecies, one element that always kind of tricks me with Macbeth is if he believes that the witches were correct, why on earth did he have to take matters into his own hands? If he believes that the witches' prophecies would have been true, why would he have to then kill King Duncan? Why not let it be? If you believe that the witches' prophecies are accurate, why take the dagger into your own hands and commit murder? Now, in Act 4, Scene 1, we see the witches' apparitions. Macbeth now returns with full power, and now he feels completely entitled. With the prophecies, he was a little scared by these witches, but with these apparitions, he begins demanding. Now, this scene has an incredible part where Hecate, this goddess of evil derived directly from the devil, comes in and doesn't just say something. Apparitions are things that appear. Very dramatic, because what we come to see is Macbeth not only doesn't just hear what the witches are saying, but sees what all three apparitions are doing. So our first apparition outlines says, Macbeth, 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 beware Macduff, beware the Thane of Fife, let me go, enough. Now, what is he saying? Well, pretty simple. Beware of Macduff. Okay, we later see why he has to be aware of Macduff. Our second apparition, okay, says, Macbeth, 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 be violent, bold, and firm. Laugh at the power of other men, because nobody born from a woman will ever harm Macbeth. And the second apparition goes, Macbeth thinks to himself, well, if nobody is born, everyone's born of a woman. So if I have no one to fear of anyone, if I have nothing to fear of anyone other than someone who's born of a woman, I got nothing to fear at all. Makes sense, right? Our third apparition is this child who is crowned, right? And with a tree in his hand. And we see with this tree in his hand, it says, Macbeth shall never be vanquished until great Birnam Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him. And who conspires against you, Macbeth, will never be defeated until Birnam Wood marches to fight you at Dunsinane Hill. Macbeth says, well, how could Birnam Wood, which is one place, travel to Dunsinane Hill? How can the wood from Birnam Wood or from Birnam Wood come over to Dunsinane Hill? Well, that doesn't make sense. How could Mississauga bring Mississauga over to Toronto? That doesn't make sense. Or to Brampton? That doesn't make sense. This creates false hope. Because what the witches do is they not only foreshadow, but they make a play on words, suggesting to Macbeth that he has nothing to fear. And he interprets it as he has nothing to fear. But realistically, we know what ends up happening. Now, all of this confidence that Macbeth now has, because he's been reassured by the witches, really comes into play in how he deals with other characters and how he takes matters into his own hand and becomes a real tyrant that no one saw coming. We look at this character from Act 1, Scene 1 or Scene 2, where he's this noble hero who fights for his country, and we look at this tyrant of a king and how false hope and false confidence really creates this horrible person.